Okay, so Russell Brunson has generated hundreds of millions of dollars from his VSLs by using one extremely powerful persuasion principle, and understanding this one principle separates the online coaches whose VSLs get ignored, while others go past 100K per month because they have a VSL that is making them an extra 50K per month on autopilot. And this principle has nothing to do with your offer, your audience, your product, your hook, none of that. It's all because Russell Brunson understood the power of a principle that he calls story selling. So I took this exact concept, used it to write a VSL script for a previous client of mine, and generated $126,000 from an organic evergreen VSL funnel in just 90 days. And in this video, I'm breaking down that entire VSL line by line. And at the end, I'm going to give you a complete story selling VSL framework that you can use to script high converting VSLs consistently for your own coaching business or for your clients if you're a growth opera copywriter. But first, let me explain what story selling actually is. Let's get it. Now, before I get into the actual VSL script, let me first explain what story selling actually is. So story selling is the art of selling your offer by wrapping it in a personal transformation story, specifically the story of how you or your client discovered the breakthrough method that you're now selling, right? And so the reason why most VSLs fail in the first place is because they immediately trigger your prospect's sales defenses. And so the moment someone realizes that they're being sold to, their guard goes up and they start looking for reasons not to buy. And so as a result, they tune out and they don't watch the VSL, right? And so story selling flips this entire dynamic because instead of pitching your offer directly, you wrap it inside a compelling narrative that bypasses logic and speaks directly to the emotional brain where buying decisions are actually made, okay? And so the typical VSL goes something like this, here's my method, here are my results, here's why it's amazing, now buy, right? But the problem with this is that you're trying to convince someone through logic. But people don't buy logically, they buy emotionally and then justify that decision with logic later. And so without a story, you're going to be wrestling against every objection, every doubt, and every false belief that your prospect is holding on to. And so story selling, as a result, does three critical things to transform your VSL. First, it lowers resistance because when you tell a story, people lean in, they get invested, they drop their defenses because they're not being sold to, they're being entertained and educated. Second, it creates belief transfer. Okay, when you share your journey from struggle to success using your framework, your prospects unconsciously think if it has worked for them, therefore it can work for me. Okay, and so you're not just selling a product, you're selling a transformation that they can see themselves experiencing. And third, it systematically destroys the three false beliefs preventing the sale. Number one being that your method doesn't work, right? That false belief about the vehicle. Number two, that it won't work for them specifically, so the internal false belief. And number three, the external false belief, which is the belief that external obstacles will block their success. And so as a result, your VSL doesn't feel like a sales pitch when you use story selling. It feels like a breakthrough moment that your prospect has been waiting for months, which allows your offer to be positioned as the next logical step for them, which as a result increases conversion rates, justifies premium pricing, and turns cold prospects into eager buyers who feel like they'd be crazy not to take action. So now let's get into the VSL script breakdown. So starting with the headline, as you can see here, close your first wholesale real estate deal in 90 days or less, no cold calling or license needed. Now, very important with headlines, you want to make sure you keep them as concise as possible. And the reason for that is that the least amount of words you have, the more impactful they are. So if you have a really wordy headline, it won't be as effective, it won't be as impactful, and people are less likely to read it, right? So it has to look good on the landing page. So it has to be sort of like minimal, if that makes sense. And each word needs to carry heavy weight, right? You need to make it as concise as possible, and you need to make it as specific to the ICP as possible. And basically do these three things. As you can see here from the checklist here, you have A, does it match your target customer's awareness level? B, at least two of the four U's. So the U's are urgent. So does your does your headline create urgency for people to watch your VSL? Is it useful? So does your headline create something sort of like, does it create is it useful in the sense that do you want to learn more about how this can help you achieve your dream outcome through the headline, right? Unique, is it different to what they've seen before from other competitors, right? And then ultra specific, how specific is it? And like, can they truly understand? Is it straightforward enough to understand? Is it very specific, very tangible, very concrete in the sense that they can really understand exactly what they're getting from this VSL? So it's very specific. And then C, answers what's in it for me, right? Cool. So making that super clear. And you want to make it as concise as possible and do those things. For the U's, you only need 2 out of the 4. You don't need to try to get all 4 because that's pretty much impossible. Sometimes it's very difficult. So at least two of the 4 U's and you'll be set. So in this case, close your first wholesale real estate deal in 90 days or less. No cold calling or license needed. So as you can see, we're being ultra specific, so they know exactly what they're getting, right? Close your first wholesale deal first, very specific, in 90 days, wholesale deal as well, another specific element, or less. No cold calling or license needed, super specific, targeting a very painful problem. So we're meeting them exactly where they're at, because we're targeting sort of like beginners, beginner wholesalers, who understand the wholesaling space and who've tried it before and stuff like that, and maybe they're struggling to sign that first deal, because that's the hardest part when it comes to reselling, is finding is closing that first deal. And so we're telling them in this case, and we're making it unique, because it's like no cold calling is almost unheard of in this niche, right? You have to cold call when it comes to wholesale real estate. So very, very unique there, and separates us from all the other wholesale real estate offers. Cool. Now, the hook. So I'll read it to you first, and I'll run you through the checklist and how it sort of like basically like what is it? Ticks off every element of the checklist. So most wholesalers spend 80% of the time cold calling and 20% closing deals. That's exactly what my brother and I did when we first started wholesaling, until we got so sick and tired of spending 4 to 5 hours a day burning through expensive lead lists just to talk to people who had zero motivation to sell. So we threw cold calling out the window entirely, and believe it or not, our income actually skyrocketed. Look, if you're an experienced wholesaler who's struggling to break past the 10 to 20K a month mark, and you're tired of making 100 plus cold calls a day just to get 3 unmotivated sellers to pick up, this will be the most valuable 12 minutes of your week, because I'm going to show you exactly how we went from the same cold calling grind to $300,000 in profit last month using an automated system that brings sellers to us. But first, you need to understand how we figured this out in the first place. Now let's go through the checklist. So, attention grabber. Your first few lines need to hit. You need to get it to hit by either being unexpected or hitting pain/problems directly, or doing both. C, try 25 variations if you have to, make them feel something. So in this case, what are we doing here in the very first few lines? We're targeting a very specific painful problem directly, okay? And we're being unexpected because we're telling them that this problem that they have is not something that they have to deal with anymore. So it's creating curiosity, right? So we're saying spending 4 to 5 hours a day burning through expensive lead lists just to talk to people who have zero motivation to sell. So we threw cold calling out the window entirely, and believe it or not, our income actually skyrocketed. So here, as you can see at the very beginning, we're targeting the specific pain point directly. And then we're saying we threw cold calling out the window entirely, and believe it or not, our income actually skyrocketed. So here we're being extremely unexpected, because no one expects in the wholesale real estate niche that if you threw cold calling out the window, if you don't do cold calling anymore, that you would actually get good results, right? Being unexpected, hitting problems directly. You only have to pick one of the two, but ideally you can have both, and that creates an insane effect, a compounding effect, if you will. 3, establishing credibility. Why should they believe you? If you don't answer this, nothing else matters. Nothing else you say matters. Sales is a reference of belief over a bridge of trust. Okay. So how are we establishing credibility in the hook? Well, first of all, we're being extremely relatable at the beginning, because we're saying that we went through this exact pain that they're going through. Okay. So we're meeting them where they're at, and we're being relatable. And we're essentially, by being relatable, in a sense, it makes them believe in us, because it makes them think that we have the right solution for that specific problem, because they understand that we went through the exact same thing, right? And then we're also being extremely specific with credibility, because we're saying here towards the bottom, da da da. Because I'm going to show you exactly how we went from the same cold calling grant to 300K in profit last month, right? So that establishes credibility right there. We hit $300,000. This is almost unheard of in the wholesale space, right? So insane credibility there. Then are we opening a loop? We need to open a loop / bride them to read till the very end, or watch the VSL till the very end. Why do they have to keep watching? If you nailed the steps above, you're 90% there. Just tell them what they benefit if they do read it till the end, if they watch the VSL till the end. So here we're telling them exactly what they would get if they watch the VSL till the end. We're saying, if you're an experienced wholesaler struggling to break past 10 to 20K, you're tired of making 100 plus cold calls to get 3 unmotivated sales to pick up, this will be the most valuable 12 minutes of your week, because I'm going to show you exactly how we went from the same cold calling grant to 300K in profit last month using an automated system that brings sellers to us. We're opening a loop. What is this automated system he's talking about? How is he able to make 300 grand without ever cold calling by doing wholesale real estate? Like, there's no way. So we're opening an insane loop. And at the end, we actually end on a very loop opening line. We're saying, but first you need to understand how we figured this out in the first place, ... right? So incentivizes them to want to keep reading, right? Oops, what did I do? Okay, cool. So that is the hook. Now, let's go into the story part of the VSL. Here's a simple checklist based on the essential story elements that you must have within your VSL. So phase 0, foundations, new opportunity. What is the concept you sell? Does it sound new to your audience? Does it inspire hope that they believe they can get to their dream outcome? Does it sound real and believable? The big domino statement. If I can make people believe, okay, this is super important. This is like the final belief. This is like by the end of the VSL, this is the final belief that you have to get them to believe, right? In order for them to buy your product, right? If I can make people believe that new opportunity, which in this case is like the automated system that they can basically sign or close deals without having to do cold calling, is the key to their dream outcome, which is like making, what did we say? We said break past 10 to 20K, break past 10 to 20K and close their first wholesale deal in 90 days. If we can do that to the dream outcome, and is only a table. So if I can make people that believe that automated system is the key to closing their first deal in 90 days and breaking past 10 to 20K a month, and is only attainable through my framework or my product or my service or my program, right? Then all other objections and concerns become irrelevant and they have to give me money. Okay, this is the big domino statement. It's the final statement they have to believe by the end of the VSL. So this is very important. Their biggest false beliefs. So the way that we actually get to this final big domino statement is by understanding what their biggest false beliefs are about either the mechanism or the program or anything that they may have, any doubts that they may have that this will work for them in order to believe this stuff. So any doubts they may have about the new opportunity, any doubts they may have about the framework, they need to be broken down. They need to be completely shattered, right? And so that's what we call kind of like the chain of beliefs, because we walk people through this chain of beliefs and then throughout the VSL, and then at the end of it, they realize that they basically, we make people believe that this new opportunity is the key to their dream outcome and is only attainable through our program. Okay. And that all objections and concerns become irrelevant and they have to give me money, right? So their biggest false beliefs, this is what we have to break down. Any false beliefs they have about the vehicle, right? The new opportunity, how they get to XYZ dream outcome. So how do we do that? We make the new opportunity sound easy. Okay. Internal, we need to make them believe that they can do it as well. Okay. Not just that we were able to do it, but that they can do it as well. And a way we can do that, very simple way, is by showing testimonials that people just like them are doing the exact same thing. External, target external roadblock or give 100% it'll work. 100% confidence that it'll work. Okay, cool. Phase 1, the mirror backstory. So what is your backstory that makes readers interested in your story? It should match match exactly what they're going through slash feeling right now. Desire. What is the desired result you want to achieve? It should match exactly what they want to do. Again, coherence is huge. Every single part of your VSL that includes the headline and includes like the story needs to tie back to the headline. The story needs to tie back to the CTA needs to tie back to the story. The program needs to tie back to the CTA, which needs to tie back to the headline. Everything needs to be coherent and congruent with each other. Everything needs to relate to each other. Okay, very important. Otherwise, people get confused, and when people can easily sense when something isn't right, isn't like congruent, and that's going to reflect because it's going to make them, it's going to create a lack of trust because it's going to confuse them and make them believe that your solution is just not right for them, and your program can't really help them because they don't fully understand it, and it's like not really um it's not really being congruent with what you're saying throughout the video, right? And so you have to be extremely clear and concise and cohesive, okay, throughout the VSL. Um, Old vehicles, what other things that you and they have tried and failed to get to their desired results? Phase two, the journey. What was the call that made you start on this journey? Villain, who or what is the villain that keeps you from having success? What will happen if you don't succeed in getting the result? What is the pain you'll feel? And then, whoops, I need to add this phase. Cool. So phase three, discovering the new opportunity. Who was the guide who gave you the new opportunity? What was the epiphany you experienced? The big aha moment. New opportunity. What is the new opportunity you created based on this epiphany? Phase four, framework and results. What is the strategy or framework you developed to take advantage of the new opportunity or to get the result you wanted? Right. So there's the new opportunity, and then there's the framework that you use to take advantage of the new opportunity. And I'll walk you through the VSL to show you in a more concrete way what that means, what that looks like. Results. What were the results you got using the framework you made to take advantage of the new opportunity? Others' results. What were other people's results following those frameworks? Phase five, achievement and transformation. What end result did you accomplish? Transformation. How did you transform during your journey? Okay, so now let me walk you through the story. So starting right here, problem identification. So I'm Davis Path. My brother Tanner and I did 300K in profit last month, and we're on track for over $1 million this quarter. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, we fell into the same trap every new wholesaler does, following outdated guru playbooks that don't work anymore. I literally spent $50,000, my last savings, on mentorship programs, online courses, and masterminds. I devoured everything I could find. I followed every playbook the gurus were selling. But after 6 months, I almost had nothing to show for it. I was spending thousands on lead lists and marketing and only managing to close maybe one or two deals every 6 to 8 weeks. But the deeper I got into it, the more obvious it became. Every single strategies the gurus were showing me were all outdated. They were crowded and they were built for a completely different market than the one we're in now. You see, the old way of wholesaling was all about grinding outbound marketing, cold calling for hours a day, driving for dollars every weekend, spending thousands on direct mail, text blasting lists until your number got flagged, and chasing the same burnt out sellers over and over again. That used to work in 2015 because most sellers hadn't heard from a dozen investors, cold calling wasn't blocked, and leads were cheap, but not anymore. Here's what changed. Cold calling and texting are getting blocked by carriers like Verizon and AT&T. Response rates on mail are the worst they've ever been. Leads cost too much and returns are too low. Sellers are more skeptical and have heard from 5 other investors already, and buyers are harder to please. They want clean deals, fast turnarounds, and real motivation from sellers. The old playbook is just a recipe for burnout. It's crowded, outdated, and doesn't match how the game is being played in 2025. Thousands of experienced wholesalers are stuck in the same rut, all following the same outdated playbooks, all competing on the same burnt out lead lists, all wondering why they can't break past $20,000 months no matter how hard they grind. And so after 6 months of hitting the same income wall every month, I realized I wasn't the problem. The model was. And so while everyone else is stuck chasing burnt out sellers with outdated tactics, we took a completely different path. We stopped cold calling. We stopped driving for dollars. We stopped begging cash buyers to take our deals. And we built a model that actually works in 2025. Instead of chasing unmotivated sellers, we attract high intent ones who are already looking to sell. Instead of hoping cash buyers don't flake, we sell directly to retail buyers on the MLS for 2 to 3x the profit. It's the opposite of what every course is teaching. And it's the only reason we've been able to scale to over $198,000 per month in assignment fees while running our business from a laptop. And unlike traditional wholesaling businesses that operate on thin, 30 to 50% margins, our system runs at over 85% profit margins. Just a bulletproof, repeatable system that brings sellers to you, closes virtually, and gets deals sold without ever cold calling or wasting time on sellers who aren't serious. Now, let me show you how this works. So, how does this system actually work? And why is it outperforming everyone else right now? Well, it starts with how we find sellers. Instead of cold calling for hours or texting lists that barely respond, we launch simple ads that bring motivated sellers directly to us. These aren't random homeowners, these are people who are already looking to sell. That means there's no chasing, no convincing, and no wasted time trying to qualify bad leads. And you don't need to be a tech wizard to set any of this up either. In fact, we use plug and play ad templates that take less than 30 minutes to launch that are completely optimized to keep our lead cost at around $27, while most investors are spending over $100 for the same type of seller. Once the leads come in, we use our proven scripts, calculators, and comping formulas that walk us through every step so we know what to offer, how to position it, and how to lock up the deal virtually without ever seeing the property in person. Then we sell directly to retail buyers by listing our deals on the MLS. We partner with licensed agents who handle the entire process for us so we can close bigger deals faster and make 2 to 3 times more per deal than a typical wholesaler. The average deal in our system nets $20,000 compared to the industry average of 12,500. Our average contract comes from just 15 to 20 leads compared to most wholesalers needing 100 plus to get a deal. And since this entire system runs virtually, it works in any market across the country. You can target hot areas with low competition and better spreads, even if your local market is completely saturated. But most importantly, it saves you hours every day because the lead generation, follow up, and dispo processes are all automated, allowing you to break through your income ceiling and scale to six figures with just 1 to 2 hours a day without hiring VAs or managing complex systems. We call this our automated virtual wholesale system. And it's the sole reason why we broke through our 15K per month income ceiling and scaled to over 300K last month in assignment fees. And it's the same system our students are now using to break through their income plateaus and scale to six figures per month. Just take a look at Caddy and BJ, blah, blah, blah. And then we get into results. And then from there, we transition to the offer. So that's the story right there. And so what we're essentially doing here is we're starting by identifying the pain, the problem, right, that we've noticed. And then we're explaining how everything else is outdated. We're pinpointing the specific villain, how every single guru, all the methods they're showing are outdated, and how it's not our fault. It's like no matter how hard we work, it's not our fault. It's because we're using an old model that is not built for today's world. And then we get into the new opportunity here where it's like we took a completely different path. We stopped doing XYZ and we started to attract, instead of chasing unmotivated sellers and using the old model, we started to attract high intent ones. So that's kind of like the new opportunity we're taking here. And so from there, we established a bit of authority here and explaining why it's so good and inciting them and creating curiosity for them to learn more about it by adding the results here, because we haven't revealed it yet. We haven't revealed exactly what we do, but we're creating that curiosity because we've used this new method. It's the opposite of what every course is teaching. And it's the only reason we're able to scale to over $198,000 per month. And unlike traditional wholesale businesses that operate on 30 to 50% margins, our system runs at 80% profit margin. So that's sort of like the new opportunity. We're building curiosity around it. And now let me show you how it works. This is the framework part. So this is where this is the framework that we use to take advantage of the new opportunity, right? So it's our automated virtual wholesale system, right? That's sort of like the framework that we use to take advantage of the new opportunity, right? And so from there, it really dives into case studies and results to give them more proof and show them how they can do the exact same thing, how it's not just us that we're able to do this, but how people just like them are able to do this. So we're building confidence that they can achieve these same results as well. And then offer breakdown, and then we transition smoothly into the offer breakdown because now they're nurtured on the idea that they need this system. And so then the transition to the offer is really simple because now we've separated ourselves from every other wholesaler out there because we're doing something that no one else is doing. And now when you introduce your offer, your program, you're essentially telling them that we're going to help you basically capitalize on the system, how to use this. We're going to teach you exactly how to use this system. We're going to give you the support. We're going to give you the shortcut. And this is sort of like the details of that. And so the three pillars are like the system. So the automated virtual wholesale system, which they need, which they're nurtured about that they need. And then the support that comes with that and the shortcuts, right? Cool. And then from there, it's the CTA. So when we look at the checklist, we analyze this and we see new opportunity. Okay, what is the concept you sell? Does it sound new to your audience? Does it inspire hope they can finally achieve their dream outcome? Does it sound real and believable? So as you can see here in our new opportunity, does this sound new? Look at this. We took a completely different path. We stopped cold calling. We stopped doing XYZ that most people do. It's a completely new thing. It's the opposite of what every course is teaching, right? Does it sound real and believable? Well, we have the testimonials that back it up, right? It's the sole reason we broke through our 15K a month ceiling and scaled to over 300K last month. Just take a look at Caddy and BJ. They were working last year. They've been slinging deals like crazy. This is Kelly, even Connor, who's never done an ovation before. Within 4 days, he locked up his first deal for 25K. And so here, as you can see, if we go back here, does it inspire hope? Absolutely, and it inspires hope because it's a completely new way of approaching this sort of like the way to do wholesale real estate, right? So it inspires hope that now they don't have to do XYZ things, and instead they can try our system instead, and find hope that will actually allow them to achieve their desired outcome. Right? Does it sound real and believable? We already went through that. If I can make people believe that new opportunity is the key to the dream outcome and is only achievable through my framework or product or service, then all other objections become irrelevant and they have to give me money. So in this case, as you can see, by dismantling, essentially breaking down all the other possibilities of doing wholesaling by telling them the old playbook is a recipe for burnout, all these other things that they're doing is like preventing them from achieving dream outcome, then our way is the only way for them to do so. So it's only attainable, therefore it's only attainable through my mechanism, right? Because I'm the only one who's talking about this new opportunity. I'm the only one who's saying that you don't have to take this cold calling path. You don't have to do cold calling and stuff like that. And you can do this by, instead of chasing unmotivated sellers, you can attract high intent ones, right? And so we're saying that, and then we get into the mechanism. We get into what is it? The framework, right? The framework of how they can do so as well, right? So that it becomes only attainable through my framework of service because they've never heard this before. It's creating an insane epiphany. They've never heard of being able to achieve this without cold calling and driving for dollars and begging cash bars to take our deals. They've never heard of that, right? So how are we making the new opportunity sound easy? Well, basically by walking them through the framework, we make it sound super easy. So how does this system work and why is it performing everyone else right now? It starts with how we find sellers. Instead of cold calling, we launch simple ads that bring motivated sellers to us. And how do we make it sound even easier? Right here. These are that means no these aren't random homeowners. They're people who are already looking to sell. That means there's no chasing, no convincing, no wasted time to trying to qualify bad leads. And you don't need to be a tech wizard to set any of this up. Any objection that they're dismantling an objection that they may think about when setting up ads because they've never done it before. In fact, we use plug and play templates that take less than 30 minutes to launch, completely optimized to keep our lead costs around $27, while most investors are spending over $100, right? Making it sound even easier. Once the leads come in, we use our proven scripts, calculators, comping formulas to walk us through every step of the offer, how we position it, how to lock up a deal without ever seeing the property in person, right? We partner with licensed agents who handle the entire process for us so we can close deals faster and make 2 to 3 times more per deal than a typical wholesaler, right? And since the entire system runs virtually, it works in any market across the country. But more importantly, it saves you hours every day because the lead generation, follow-up, and dispose processes are all automated, allowing you to break through your income ceiling and scale to 6 figures, right? So you see how simple we make it sound and how benefit-driven it is, how it's like it's inspiring hope for them that they can actually make this work, right? Cool. Backstory. What makes your backstory? It should match exactly what they're going through, feeling right now. Here, interested in your story. Well, it makes them interested in we make them interested in our story by relating exactly to the same pain points that they are experiencing right now, right? We're going through exactly the same stuff that they were doing. So I was spending thousands on lead lists and marketing, only managing to close maybe 1 or 2 deals every 6 to 8 weeks. Very specific. You see how tangible and specific this is? This is exactly what they're going through, right? Cold calling hours a day, driving for dollars, spending thousands on direct mail, text blasting until your number gets flagged, chasing the same burnt out sellers over and over again, right? So we're being extremely specific and we're showing them and we're matching exactly what they're going through, feeling right now, right? And the power behind that is, again, when you can show people that you went through the exact situation they did, they have no choice but to believe that you have the right solution for them. It's just intrinsic. It's human logic, right? What are other things they have tried before and failed to get their desire? Exactly what we just said. Cold calling. Cold calling. They tried that before and they completely failed. So now we're inspiring hope by telling them, no, you don't need to fucking cold call anymore. You need to do this. You need to track leads by using ads, right? What was the call that made you start on this journey? Okay, so we have well, obviously the pain. It was frustrating as shit. We took a completely different path because after 6 months of hitting the same income wall every month, I realized I wasn't the problem. The model was, right? Who's the villain? So obviously here we're throwing rocks at enemies a lot. So as you can see here, we have we mention it throughout. We say I followed the playbook all the gurus were selling. Every single strategy was outdated. They were crowded. They were built for a completely different market than now. Right? The old playbook is a recipe for burnout. It's crowded, outdated, and doesn't match the way the game is played in 2025. Right? And so I realized I wasn't the problem. The model was, right? So that's the big problem. The big problem is that these gurus are teaching this old model that doesn't work anymore. That worked back in 2015, but doesn't work anymore in 2025. Right? It's saturated in a sense. Okay. What was the call that made you start? Who is the villain keeping you from having success? What will happen if you don't succeed in getting the result? What is the pain you'll feel? Well, you have to keep doing what you've been doing, right? And so that's what we get into at the end when we get into the CTA of why they should join. Otherwise, they're going to have to keep doing X, Y, Z, right? Then we have who was the guy who gave you the new opportunity? What was the epiphany you experienced? Obviously, this is very clear. And what is the new opportunity you created based on this epiphany, right? So once you have this epiphany of like, yeah, I literally spent 50K and no one was able to help me. Pretty much, I was still stuck for 6 months hitting the same income wall every month. That's when I had the epiphany and I realized that I wasn't the problem. The model was, right? That's the epiphany. And then what did that lead them to do? Take a completely different path and discover the new opportunity, which is attract high intent sellers by doing ads, right? By running ads, by doing by using the system, right? And using this framework to take advantage of the new opportunity, this automated virtual wholesale system. Right. Framework and results. What is the strategy? Well, we walk them through the exact strategy and the exact automated wholesale virtual system here, right? What were the results? We obviously mentioned the results multiple times. The average deal in our system that says 20K compared to the industry average. We get our average contract comes from 15 to 20 leads instead of 100. This is the sole reason why we broke through 15K a month ceiling and scaled to over 300K. And then we get into student results and we make them hyper relevant, making them believe that it's possible for them too, right? What were the results using the framework? What were other people's results using the frameworks? As you can see, we went through those. What end results did you accomplish, and what how did you transform during your journey, right? So obviously very clear here. And so now, as I said before, when you can make that so clear and when you can show them that everything they've been doing is completely wrong and you're dismantling every possible path of like getting to that dream outcome, then you're inevitably, like, whatever you present them, they're going to be completely obsessed with and want to learn more about. And so from there, it's going to be such a smooth transition into the offer because we're the only ones that teach you how to use our automated virtual system, which you pretty much need now because everything else doesn't work, right? And so the transition to the pitch looks a little something like this. Again, we're calling out the ICP. So whether you're plateaued at the 10 to 20K a month level, where you're doing consistent deals, but you want to systemize and scale to the next level, here's what we actually do inside of Wholesale Launchpad to get our students these insane results. Inside Wholesale Launchpad, you're getting everything you need to build a lean virtual wholesaling business that works in 2025. We've broken it down into 3 core pillars: the system, the support, the shortcuts. Start with the system. You get access to a complete step-by-step training of our automated virtual wholesale system. It's structured across 12 high-impact modules, blah, blah, blah. You'll learn how to run low-cost PPC ads that bring high-intent sellers without ever cold calling, how to structure deals virtually, 100% virtually using our proven comp formulas, how to use our innovation strategy to list blah, 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 and sell to all buyer types, not just investors, so you can make 10 to 20K more per deal, how to automate your lead gen so you can scale without hiring or grinding 24/7, and how soon you'll be able to plug into our lead provision model to receive pre-qualified seller leads directly from us as a wholesale, as a Launchpad member. And so notice how with each benefit, each feature of the system, we teach them how to run low PPC ads that bring high intent buyers to you, right? This is a feature. However, for every feature, we make it super clear what the benefit is, right? So it's very important to say, like, okay, you're getting this so you can XYZ. How does that impact their life? How does it impact their life that they have to, how to run low cost PPC ads that bring high intent sellers to you, so that they never have to cold call again, right? So we want to make that super clear. How to structure deals 100% virtually using our proven comp formulas, 100% virtually. Bang. Notice here how when we're listing every sort of feature of this system, we're telling them exactly how that benefits their lives. So it's important to distinguish between feature and benefit. Okay, the feature is the actual thing that you provide them, and the benefit is what that allows them to accomplish, right? So for example, here, how to run low-cost PPC ads. Why do they care about this, right? They care about that, and we make that super clear. Why do they need this? How to run low-cost PPC ads in order to bring high intent sellers to you without ever cold calling, right? We'll also show you how to start a lean PPL options if you're on a tighter budget, so you can, right? So feature, boom, feature, how to start a lean PPL options if you're on a tighter budget. So feature and then benefit in green, so you can begin generating leads with as little as $500 a month and scale your own campaigns over time, right? So in this case, how to structure deals, how to structure and close deals 100% virtually. Here's the benefit right here, 100% virtually. They want to have that geographical freedom, right? Using our proven comp formulas, making it sound super simple. They just need to use our comp formulas. They don't need to do anything else, right? They just use our proven shit, right? How to use our innovation strategies. Okay, why do people care about using your innovation strategies? You know, in order to benefit to list properties with licensed agents and sell to all buyer types. Why is that important? Not just investors, so you can make 10 to 20K more per deal, okay? And we give an example. We actually recently made 27K on a brand new 2024 construction just by using this method. How to automate your lead gen inspo, right? So this is the feature, how to automate your lead gen dispo and follow up. And then the benefit of that feature, so you can scale without hiring or grinding 24/7. Do you understand how powerful this is? How every feature has a benefit and how that communicates and shows them tangibly why that's important, right? Why they need this stuff, right? And now you'll soon be able to plug into our lead provision model to receive pre-qualified buyers directly from us as a wholesale launchpad member, right? How you'll soon be able to plug into our lead provision model to receive pre-qualified seller leads directly from us, right? So that it basically tells them that they won't even have to do this sort of like lead process anymore. They'll soon be able to we'll soon be able to provide them with the leads ourselves. So they don't have to do any work, right? This is the exact model we used to break through our 15K a month plateau, right? Super clear and concise, concrete. And so then that's the system, right? That's the system. We add a little bit of again, it's fine if you're being repetitive. We add a little bit of what is it called, credibility here as well, again, just to reignite the fact that this is how we did it, right? We say it throughout the VSL. This is how we were able to get to this result, right? In case you forgot, this is how we freaking did it, okay? Most courses give you then pillar 2, right? So this was the system, now the support. Pillar 2, most courses give you content and leave you on your own. So we're throwing rocks at enemies here. I know this because I spent 50K on courses, right? So we want to leverage that. What we actually do at Wholesale is different. We actually work with you one-on-one like business partners, helping you close deals, make decisions, and avoid mistakes in real time. Direct mentorship, right? Again, feature versus benefit. Direct mentorship from me and my brother Tanner. Okay, why is that important? Why do I need mentorship from you guys? So you can DM us, post your deals and questions anytime for personal feedback, right? Weekly live coaching calls where we review deals, answer questions, and walk you through roadblocks. And the inner circle community. Oh, I think this like lagged out. I think that there was supposed to be some more stuff here. Okay. Wait, actually, let me add it. Right, so I've just added it here. An inner circle community. Why is that important? Where you'll learn from other active students, get support, and build momentum along other people on the same path. The goal is simple. You should never feel stuck or confused. You'll always know exactly what to do next and get expert guidance when you need it. The shortcuts, right? Pillar number 3. You'll also get every script, template, resources we use to run our business ready to copy paste. Do you see how simple this is? It's like you're pushing the big, fast, easy emotion. Look, if we go back to Hormozi's value equation here, where he essentially says, okay, to increase value of something, the value of something, we need to increase or make the dream outcome very tangible. We need to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, and we need to decrease the time delay, and we need to decrease the effort and sacrifice. And so that's exactly what we do throughout this VSL, right? If we go back to where we were, right here, just here, the goal should be simple, never to feel stuck and confused. You'll get every script, template, and resource we use to run our own business ready to copy paste. Copy paste, the word copy paste makes it sound so simple. It makes it sound like they don't need to waste any time creating every script, template, and resource because it's all done for them, right? All built for efficiency, so you can eliminate cold calling completely, right? Reducing the effort and sacrifice, like we looked at Alex Hormozi's equation, and run your business with just 1 to 2 hours a day instead of grinding on the phone all morning. This isn't just a course, it's a completely done with you mentorship program that gives you the system, the support, and the tools to break through your income ceiling and scale to consistent 6-figure months. Now, the call to action. But let me be clear, this isn't for everyone. If you aren't willing to learn new methods that actually work in 2025, this isn't for you. And if you're the type to blame the market, the leads, or competition instead of adapting your approach, it's better we don't waste each other's time. But if you're coachable, if you're serious about breaking through your current income ceiling, and if you're willing to follow a proven system that's already helping plateaued wholesalers scale to 6 figures, then we'll work with you personally, side by side, to help you transition from your current 10 to 20K months to consistent 50K months. Just keep in mind, we work closely with every student inside the wholesale launchpad, which means we can't take too many people on at once. So if you're watching this and you're even thinking about applying, do it now, because once we hit capacity, we will shut applications down. So click below to book your one-on-one call to see if you're a good fit. Cool. So as you can see, let's run through the CTA checklist real quick. So to help you create a killer offer every time, use the following checklist as guide. What is every action you want them to take? What is every reason why they wouldn't take that action? How can you assure those beliefs with your offer stack? And how do you, wait, let me delete that. Do you have a guarantee or risk reversal? Does your entire offer revolve around the new opportunity from your story? And why do they have to act now? Okay. So as you can see, in this case, we don't specifically have sort of like a guarantee and everything, just because the offer owner in this case didn't want to add that. But if you have a guarantee, then add that. And if you don't, just make it very clear, like emphasize how the pain of inaction, okay, the pain of inaction. So the pain they feel from not booking the call is greater than the pain of booking the call, right? So make it super clear, like, what's the worst case scenario of booking this call? And that's something I could have done better in this CTA right here, actually, because when you don't have a risk reversal or a guarantee or something like that, then it's important to be clear about why they should, why the pain of booking the call. What is the worst possible case that happens when they book in a call? And so you would just say something like, yeah, the worst possible case from booking a call today is that we'll literally break down exactly what you've been doing so far, where you're currently at, where you want to go, and how we can help you do so. And either way, you'll walk away from this call with a clear game plan of what your next steps should be, even if we don't end up working together. Whether or not we end up working together, you're going to get XYZ. Okay, so that's the worst case. Make that super clear. That's something I should have done in this VSL, right? That I didn't do in the CTA part. So what is every reason they wouldn't take action? How can you just destroy the false beliefs with your offer stack? Do you have a risk reversal? Does your entire offer revolve around the new opportunity from your story? Again, we're being super congruent here. As you can see, if you aren't willing to learn the new methods, if you aren't willing to learn about this new opportunity in 2025, this isn't for you, right? If you're to blame the market, blah, 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 instead of adapting your approach, it's better we don't waste each other's time. Linking back again to that new opportunity, right? Why do they have to act now, right? Very clear here at the end. Just keep in mind, we work closely with every student inside the wholesale launchpad, which means we can't take on too many people at once. So if you're watching this and you're thinking of even applying, do it now, because once we hit capacity, we will shut applications down to focus on the current cohort or whatever it may be. I would have also added like a specific reason why we would shut applications down. But I guess we kind of did it here. We work closely with every student, which means we can't take on too many people at once, right? Do it now, because we will shut down applications. So click below, book your one-on-one call, and see if you're a good fit, right? So there you go. There you have it. Alrighty, so that pretty much concludes it for the VSL breakdown. If you want the full Storyselling VSL framework and checklist, DM me on IG, first link in the description, and I will send it to you for completely free, and hopefully you can make a fuck ton of money from it. Without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Talk soon. Peace.